Being in the spotlight at a young age comes with some very unique challenges. Some people rise to the occasion, and some people crumble from the pressure. Although Mike Tyson had some amazing victories, winning 50 of the 58 fights in his career, he also suffered some major losses too, from lawsuits to bankruptcy and lots of misadventures in between. Stay tuned until the end to see how much Mike Tyson had to pay for biting his opponent's ear in a fight. Now, this is how Mike Tyson spends his millions. You might recognize him by his interesting voice or by his legendary face tattoo. However you identify him, Mike Tyson is definitely someone you don't forget about. Mike Tyson is a man who reached the heights of fame and fortune and then lost it all in a series of poor spending choices and overindulgences. He went from heavyweight champ to nothing in the bank. On November 22, 1986, Mike Tyson, 20 years old and brand new to the scene, hit a veteran world champion with a punch so destructive that his 32-year-old opponent went down 3 times from the blow. A blow that was not unlike the blow to Tyson when he had to file for bankruptcy in 2003, with reportedly $23 million in debt. At the height of Tyson's career, he was a superstar. He enjoyed incredible success in the 1990s and had millions of fans screaming his name. He also had millions of dollars, $400 million to be exact. Tyson famously bought a brand new Ferrari, and since he had no idea how to drive it, immediately drove it through a convenience store window. Luckily, no one was hurt, but Tyson was arrested briefly in connection with the accident. Back in the 80s, the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history purchased the Lamborghini LM002, an extremely rare Lamborghini SUV that was one of only 328 units that were produced between 1986 to 1993. Obviously, the cost of a car was very different back in the 80s, but if you factor in inflation, this car would have cost around $134,000 nowadays. Tyson has owned a couple of luxury SUVs. There was the Cadillac Escalade and the Hummer H2, which would have a combined value of about $175,000. Tyson also splurged for the 420 horsepower Bentley Continental SC that came equipped with a phone, lamb's wool rugs, and a removable glass roof, and it only set him back $500,000. Overall, Tyson blew about $4.5 million on cars alone. To top it all off, he also owned a 1995 Rolls-Royce, a Range Rover, and a Mercedes-Benz 500. Well, cars alone didn't put Iron Mike in the red. He also splurged on enormous properties complete with ridiculous amenities all up to his very specific standards. In 1996, Mike Tyson purchased a giant estate in Connecticut. A year and a half later, Tyson's Connecticut compound was placed on the market with an asking price of $22 million, miles above what he paid for it. At the time, the 56,000 square foot, 20-bedroom mansion set him back $3 million, but apparently Tyson thought he could get $19 million above what he paid, due to the notoriety of a sports legend having lived there. Some other features of the sprawling property came complete with a heated driveway, 24 full bathrooms, 14 half baths, a 4-story indoor glass elevator, and an artificial lake in the backyard. The house was being offered furnished. That means, for your money, you'd also be getting the indoor disco that Tyson had put in, with a built-in smoke machine and something called a computerized DJ booth. The house had a huge list of Tyson touches that we would not be complaining about. Among that list are an indoor gym, a racquetball court, and an NBA regulation-sized basketball court. For a time, it seemed like Iron Mike was collecting mansions. He purchased one dwelling in Nevada for $2.5 million and another in Los Angeles for a similar price. This was definitely not the only million-dollar property that Tyson owned before going bankrupt. He had his 30th birthday party at the Connecticut mansion, and the guest list was certainly star-studded. Although the details of this event are shady and hard to come by, the price tag of the event was certainly a headline. If you're wondering how you can be worth $400 million and squander it before the age of 40, spending $400,000 on your birthday party is definitely on the list. Little is known about the elusive B-Day bash. However, a few names from the star-studded guest list were leaked. According to rumor, there were 700 guests in attendance, including the current president of the United States, Donald Trump, who at the time was just a rich socialite before he decided to leap into the world of politics. And to guarantee the safety of high-profile guests like Trump, Tyson hired 12 off-duty police officers from the Farmington City Police Department. Another splurge that we're shaking our heads at is the extravagant gift that Iron Mike bought for his ex-wife Robin Givens. Mike Tyson wanted his wife to be able to relax while still enjoying the height of luxury. That's why he bought her a 24-karat solid gold bathtub. Like, where does someone even buy a gold bathtub? Does it have to be custom made, or is there a special celebrity Bed Bath & Beyond store that us mere mortals aren't privy to? How heavy would that tub be? Because gold is extremely dense and much heavier than the porcelain used for the average tub. And finally, a question that we can thankfully answer: how much does a lavish amenity like this cost, you ask? The infamous bathtub that the infamous boxer bought for his wife cost a whopping $2.2 million. This next purchase is moving even farther away from the practical towards the full-on frivolous. Now, don't get us wrong, Mike Tyson wouldn't be the first celebrity to drop tons of cash on a furry friend. Paris Hilton notoriously bought a $200,000 mini mansion for her puppies to inhabit. But in true Tyson fashion, he took it one step further with his pod pals, spending $70,000 apiece on Bengal tigers. You heard that right, Tyson had 2 Bengal tigers living in his home before they were eventually confiscated by the United States Department of Agriculture, which might have been a blessing in disguise because Mike's feline friends were costing him a pretty penny. At the height of it, he actually owned up to 3 tigers at a time. Tyson was spending $200,000 a year on the food bill alone. Tyson also traveled extensively for work, and as you can imagine, a cat like that can't be checked into a kennel. Every time Mike left home, his tigers had to be left with a certified tiger tamer, and that set him back another $125,000 a year. But before you start to think that these beauties were all bad, they did at one time generate some revenue when Tyson appeared alongside one of them in Hangover 2. After Tyson went bankrupt, many of his fineries appeared in an auction. Among that collection were some absolutely excessive pieces of jewelry that just go to show that Mike was more concerned about showing off his wealth than actually having any wealth left to show. Among the collection was a diamond-coated Piaget golden watch that cost the champion $800,000. It's so easy to check the time on your phone nowadays that in retrospect, this seems even more outrageous. Mike actually had to be sued before he paid his jewelry bill, but according to Mordecai Yerushalmi, jeweler to the stars, he paid up. And now, they're friends again. Not many people can walk into a jewelry store and walk right out dripping in diamonds without paying a single cent. Well, not many people are Mike Tyson. He had set up a line of credit with many different jewelers in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's unclear whether he managed to pay them all back before declaring bankruptcy in 2003. There were many pricey pieces from his collection that ended up getting sold altogether, including a diamond watch, a diamond bracelet, and 2 pocket watches, all for a combined bill of $740,000. Yes, Mike Tyson is famous for a lot of things. There's his unparalleled abilities in the boxing ring, the extravagant spending that drained him of his millions, but for many people, Mike Tyson is known as the guy who bit and seriously damaged his opponent's ear in a boxing match, causing him to immediately forfeit the heavyweight championship. Tyson is known for having a serious temper, and in his match against Evander Holyfield, that temper reared its ugly head. The act left the referee, Mills Lane, with no choice. Tyson was disqualified after the 3rd round of the heavyweight title fight at the MGM Grand Garden for biting into Holyfield's right ear, ignoring a warning, and then biting into his left ear. Tyson claimed to be reacting to some unlawful headbutting by Evander, who claimed that it was Tyson who brought the headbutts on himself by bowing his head to avoid a scary-looking punch. Holyfield wanted someone to pay for what happened to him, so the state of Nevada got involved, docking Tyson 10% of the pay he was owed for the fight, meaning his temper cost him $3 million that night. This incident, along with all of Tyson's extravagant spending and poor life choices, could teach us all a thing or two about what not to do with our own money.
Shaq's no fool when it comes to finances. Along with being one of the most successful basketball players of all time, he's also a successful businessman with a net worth of over $400 million. Of course, such a bank account comes with a lavish lifestyle, but you may be surprised to learn how conservative the big Aristotle is when it comes to spending. Stay tuned to see the absurdly inexpensive house that Shaq once chose to buy. But before we begin, like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad for more spotlights on the rich and famous. Now here is how Shaquille O'Neal spends his millions. Since some of you may not know how Shaq came to possess such a fortune, we'll give you a short rundown. With a 7-foot 1-inch, 300-plus-pound frame, Shaquille O'Neal burst onto the basketball scene in an unsurprisingly big way. The Newark, New Jersey native was the most imposing high school and college player in America, so it was obvious that the NBA was going to invest a lot in the giant whom people were calling Shaq. In 1992, the Orlando Magic picked Shaq first overall in the entry draft and dropped $40 million on the then 20-year-old. The contract spanned 7 years and was the most lucrative rookie contract in sports history at the time. He would play some of his best basketball with the Magic, but it was with the Lakers that Shaq cemented himself as one of the top centers in NBA history. After signing a 7-year, $121 million contract with the Los Angeles-based team, Shaq would go on to win 3 NBA championships and 3 Finals MVP awards. Along the way, he picked up endorsement deals, acting roles, rap contracts, and transcended basketball culture to be an imposing force in everyday American culture. After leaving the Lakers in 2004, O'Neal won another championship with the Miami Heat in 2006 and would spend seasons with Phoenix, Cleveland, and Boston as an older yet still potent offensive and defensive threat. When Shaq retired in 2011, he was the highest paid player in NBA history, accumulating over $286 million in salary alone. But Shaq's earnings didn't dry up when his career ended. Now aged 46, Shaq is a highly paid sports analyst and businessman who has made many shrewd investments in prosperous companies. But financial expertise wasn't one of O'Neal's fundamentals. Like many rich athletes, Shaq spent a lot of money on a lot of useless stuff before he realized the value of saving and investing. Freshly out of his teenage years, Shaq found himself a millionaire thanks to the Orlando Magic's unprecedented generosity. On the day that his first $1 million arrived, Shaq spent all of it in a single day. After getting the confirmation call from his agent, O'Neal went to the bank and put the $1 million in a checking account, then left for the Mercedes-Benz dealership. After returning home with a $150,000 Mercedes, Shaq's dad asked where his Mercedes was. Unable to think of an excuse, Shaq went back to the dealership and got the same car for his father. Then his mom asked for the same car in a smaller version, and he bought that as well. With nearly $500,000 already spent, Shaq then bought rings, diamonds, and TVs before finishing his shopping spree by paying off his family house. Thus, Shaq became broke in his first day as a millionaire. Beyond broke, in fact, because a few days later the bank manager informed him that he was over $50,000 in debt. The bank manager gave a stern warning to Shaquille about irresponsible spending, which inspired the future NBA legend to get a business manager. This made him one of the few financially responsible athletes, which is definitely not an exaggeration. Approximately 60% of NBA players go broke within 5 years of retirement, and 78% of NFL players fall into financial disarray within 2 years of retirement. Thanks to a proper economic education, post-retirement Shaq is richer than he was as an NBA player. Thanks to documents from Shaquille and his ex-wife Shawnee's divorce proceedings, which are now public record, we know that Shaq was spending $875,000 a month in his heyday. While this might seem like a mathematical impossibility, consider that Shaq was making well over $20 million a year solely from salary, so these monthly expenses stretched throughout the year would have equaled to about half of his income. At this time in his life, he was spending $156,116 a month on mortgages, $26,560 on babysitters, $24,300 on gas, $22,190 on maids, $17,220 on clothes, and $12,775 on food. And perhaps the most surprising total of all, $6,730 on dry cleaning. To be fair, these expenses were family expenses, but this still makes the monthly costs exceed those of a normal family by 100-fold. Beyond family expenses, Shaq has spent absurd amounts on his own toys. Naturally, these include cars. The big man sports a very big car collection full of very big cars. Yes, Shaq has a taste commensurate with his size. Rather than flashy and compact sports cars, Shaq enjoys those luxury vehicles that provide plenty of style and plenty of legroom. Included in his collection are a Cadillac GTS, a Ford Expedition, a Jeep Wrangler, a Lincoln Continental, a Lincoln Navigator, a Cadillac Escalade, and a Hummer H2. Of course, Shaq can't go without a little flash. He owns a Lamborghini Gallardo as well. Employees at West Coast Customs, a Los Angeles-based auto detailer, claim they have customized over 30 of O'Neal's cars. Shaq's customizations are pretty standard. Sound systems, rims, custom personalization, one of which is stamping the Superman logo on all his cars. The most difficult customization that West Coast Customs must do for Shaq is create more room. Shaq's too tall to fit in the roomiest cars, so everything must be extended to accommodate his car-unfriendly frame. This makes Shaq's smart car purchase that much funnier. Speaking of safe purchases, we might as well get into home defense, for which Shaq has invested a lot of time and money. As a former athlete, Shaq's propensity for trades and paychecks has landed the big man in several giant homes in several American cities. The first mansion that Shaq bought was a 31,000 square foot compound in Windermere, Florida. The 21-year-old bought the 12-bedroom home for $4 million. Keep in mind, this is currency from 25 years ago. Shaq actually put his decades-old mansion up for sale in May 2018, asking $28 million. He kept this home as his primary residence even while playing for other teams. But since the waterfront house is equipped with a 17-car garage, a 900 square foot master bedroom, an indoor basketball court, and a 95-foot-long outdoor pool, it was hard for Shaq to part with such a paradise. And we can't forget to mention his favorite customization, the Superman logo, which adorns everything in the Orlando home, from the walls to his own bed. But not all of his homes have been lavish mega mansions. Shaq's not above spending a reasonable amount on a house, like the $235,000 he dropped on a 5-bedroom home in Mount Dora, Florida. While this is not Shaq's permanent home, even his taste in primary residences has become much more modest. For instance, in early 2018, O'Neal bought a 5,000 square foot home in Bell Canyon, California for $1.8 million. This was another smart investment for Shaq, getting rid of the old and saving a lot of money on the new. One of his biggest hobbies is electronics. O'Neal has invested in many such companies, including Apple, in which he bought stock early in his career. He's also a big fan of apps. In 2014, Shaq admitted to the Wall Street Journal that he spends $1,000 a week on apps. When asked why, Shaq responded that he likes to be on the front lines of cellular innovation, so he makes sure to check out all the new and popular apps. As an investor in several technological startups, O'Neal has a stake in the technology that is shaping our future in ways we can't imagine, so he's doing some of the cognitive legwork for us. One of Shaq's favorite genres of mobile games is hunting. In 1 week, he bought 20 deer hunter games and spends much of his downtime sniping the digital animal on his phone. Now, it's not enough to talk about the big purchases. In order to form a full picture of Shaq, we need to get into those personal expenses. And what's a better way to get into his mindset than to talk about his vacations? When his divorce papers went public, it was revealed that Shaq was spending over $110,000 a month on vacations. His love of travel is what led to Shaq being named the CFO, Chief Fun Officer, of Carnival Cruise Line in January 2018. As CFO, he promotes the company by starring in commercials and advertisements. And of course, there's the added perk of getting to go on the cruises. Shaq spent time on the giant cruise ship called Carnival Vista, which sailed around the Caribbean and provided him with all kinds of entertainment from casinos to basketball courts. The Caribbean is a favorite spot of his, so much so that he went back in July to swim with sharks. Yes, as part of Shark Week 2018, Shaq traveled to the Bahamas to get into a special Shaq-sized shark cage so that he could come face-to-face with sharks. One actually got in the cage, which was the first time this happened in Shark Week's 30-year history. Despite there being so many positive components of Shaq's financial legacy, the thing that most people will remember is his binge spending. For this reason, we'll close out this video with 2 more examples of Shaq's ridiculous splurging. In 2008, Shaq had moved into a temporary Phoenix apartment after signing with the Suns. Unfortunately, it was not furnished, so Shaq did what he had to do. He went to Walmart and spent $70,000 in one shot, buying everything that the apartment needed. When he got to the checkout counter, his American Express card was declined as a security precaution, so he was forced to talk to an Amex representative to confirm that it was indeed him making the purchase. Another big spending spree happened in 2017 when Shaq dropped nearly $1 million on his daughter Amira's Sweet 16 party. It was held on the roof of Hollywood's W Hotel and included, among other entertainment, the rapper YG performing an 8-song set. To top it off, Shaq bought Amira a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, all in a day's work for a man who can lose millions of dollars a pop and still be financially stable.
It's fair to say that Cristiano Ronaldo has more money than we'd ever know what to do with. This incredible soccer star, whose full name is Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro, is among the most respected players in the world, and he's got a pretty impressive salary to match. The Portugal-born player might not be quite the world's most expensive athlete, but he's definitely bringing home enough bacon to ensure a more than comfortable life for his girlfriend and children. Before we reveal to you where all of Cristiano's money is going, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Now let's get into it. This is how Cristiano Ronaldo spends his millions. It might not look like it, but things haven't always been easy for the soccer star. Cristiano was diagnosed with a heart disorder at the age of 15 and thought that he'd never succeed as an athlete because of it. But at the age of 18, he was officially signed to play for Manchester United in the UK, and he hasn't looked back since. Fast forward to now, and he's won 28 trophies in his career, including 5 Premier League trophies, 5 Champions League trophies, and 1 UEFA European Championship trophy. He also holds the record for the most international goals by a European player, and in total, he's scored over 680 senior career goals for the club and country. So you could say he's a well-respected man in the industry. This Juventus soccer star has an estimated net worth of $450 million, and his legs alone have been insured for $144 million in the past. In June 2018, it was revealed that he had made a whopping $108 million in the past year alone. It's believed that he earned $61 million from his soccer salary alone. The rest of the money was due to an extensive list of collaborations and sponsorships that he holds around the world. Not only do people pay Cristiano because of his talents in the soccer field, he's also pretty darn popular on social media. As we said, he's not the highest earning player of all time, but he might just be the most followed athlete in the world. For starters, he outranks other world-renowned soccer legends by tens of millions of followers across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. On Instagram alone, as of October 2018, he's actually the most followed person in the world after finally beating out Selena Gomez. So people who work with Cristiano know that not only can they pay for his approval of their products, but that working with him will help market them to the masses. Cristiano knows this, and he uses his social platforms to his advantage. It's thought that for posting one simple Instagram picture on his feed, that Cristiano can earn a huge $400,000. This talented star has worked with more than 30 different brands and companies to help promote their products. The most lucrative deal he has is with Nike, who pays Cristiano more than $38 million annually. When you consider that Cristiano has worked with this sports brand since 2003, it's definitely been a big money maker for him. In fact, Cristiano is thought to have earned more than $174.4 million from Nike alone. That's certainly a pretty good deal. He also worked with KFC between 2013 and 2016 and was paid $750,000 each year. For a while, he was the face of KFC Arabia and starred in a few of the brand's ads. When Cristiano worked with Castrol, he was paid $9 million. Other business arrangements this star has made include a $500,000 per year deal with screen protector company Panzer Glass and a lucrative deal with Emporio Armani. He worked as the face of their Spring-Summer 2010 underwear and jeans lines and earned a total of $4.8 million from Armani over the course of 4 years. One particularly surprising collaboration was with the Egyptian metal industry. The bizarre endorsement perplexed fans when Cristiano took to Twitter wearing a white hard hat and branded green shirt to talk about eco-friendly steel. We know, we're equally as confused. No one could really get to the bottom of why Cristiano was suddenly so invested in helping this particular Egyptian industry. But when you've got as much money as this soccer star, who cares where you're getting it from next? This businessman likes to use every avenue possible to make his money. Cristiano also owns his own clothing line called CR7, named after his initials and his soccer jersey number. While all he has to do for the brand is design the clothes behind it, we imagine it's another fairly hefty stream of income for him. Because as we've seen over the years, whatever he's wearing, other people want to wear it too. So if he's designing it, we put good money on people wanting to purchase it. So we know how Cristiano is making so much money and why he never seems to run out of it. Now we can get started on the fun part, dissecting exactly where he's spending all of this money. And you might not be surprised to hear that he has expensive tastes. One area where Cristiano loves to spend his money is on cars. Cristiano's entire collection of cars could ferry around large groups of people, and despite there only being one of him, he keeps buying new vehicles. This elaborate collection includes nearly 20 cars with a total estimated value of just under $5 million. The most expensive vehicle in Cristiano's garage is a Bugatti Veyron, worth $1.7 million alone. If we were him, we would be too scared to take that for a drive. Another speed machine in his garage is the Lamborghini Aventador, worth just over $300,000. He also owns a Bentley GT Speed worth $220,000, an Aston Martin DB9 with a price tag of $200,000, and a Ferrari 599 GTO which set him back $385,000. The rest of his collection is equally as impressive, but we have to wonder exactly how much use he gets out of these cars when he spends most of his time on the pitch. But with so much money to spend, we'll let him buy as many new cars as his heart desires. And cars aren't the only vehicle that Cristiano relies on to get him from point A to point B. He's also the soccer player with one of the most expensive jets in the world. Cristiano's Gulfstream G650 cost $36 million and can carry up to 18 people. It can hit a top speed of 610 miles an hour, has a range of 7,000 nautical miles. And because he's Cristiano Ronaldo, the plane also has his initials inscribed onto the side of the plane. Show off. He might have a private jet to take him around the country between matches, but Cristiano also uses his plane to take him on fancy, luxurious holidays. Back in July 2018, he vacationed in Greece with his girlfriend Georgina and 4 children. He stayed at the high-end Costa Navarino resort after the World Cup. The villa where he set up camp for 10 days had round-the-clock butler service. Cristiano was so impressed with the hospitality he received that he left a tip, but not just any tip. He reportedly left behind more than $22,000 for the lucky staff at the hotel, who definitely had never seen a tip like that before. The employees had been tasked with providing services to the family and also had to keep the paparazzi away. But if Cristiano is determined to stay away from the paps, and can't get away for a quick break, he can just head back to his own private villa in Madrid. This luxury property cost Cristiano just over $6 million and comes with 2 pools and giant portraits of himself. His family home is located in the exclusive neighborhood of La Finca. The house is decorated with plenty of fancy chandeliers and family photos on the walls, making it a mix between homey and being at the height of luxury. But there's one very unusual element to Cristiano's Madrid house that you won't see anywhere else in the world. If you visited Madrid's Museum of Wax, you might have noticed a very lifelike Cristiano Ronaldo staring down at you. And it seems that when Cristiano visited himself, he liked the wax piece so much, he decided to commission a second one. A wax piece might be an expensive purchase in the first place, but Cristiano's came in at an even higher price at $25,000 because of one important feature: The hair. The waxwork was designed by an expert, but the only person that Cristiano would allow to design the hair on top of the wax figure's head was his hairdresser, who was flown into the country to do so. Like many celebrities who spend a lot of time in the limelight, Cristiano likes to dress well, and he has expensive taste to match. He has any number of fancy suits, cut perfectly to his toned body. You'll never see him looking badly dressed. You'll often find Cristiano in a lot of Armani suits. But he's also a fan of Balmain, Off-White, and D-Squared too. And what better way to complement an expensive suit than with an even more expensive watch? Cristiano often flashes his diamond-encrusted watch, which came in with a price tag of just over $2.3 million. Naturally, it's a top-of-the-range watch by designer brand Jacob & Company. So by now, you might be thinking that Cristiano loves to spend money on stuff for himself and his family. And to be fair, he works hard for his money, so why shouldn't he? But you might also be relieved to hear that he does an awful lot for charity as well. Most recently, Cristiano has funded a pediatric hospital in Santiago, Chile. And in 2017, he auctioned off a replica of his 2013 Ballon d'Or trophy for more than $700,000, with all the proceeds going to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. But that's not all. In 2016, Cristiano also made a generous donation to Save the Children for food, clothing, and medical care to help children in Syria. And in 2015, he was even named the world's most charitable sports person by DoSomething.org. It's clear that he's prepared to spend a lot of time and money helping those less fortunate than he is. He claims that his willingness to help others came from his father, who told him that if you help someone, then God will give you double in return. And we have to say that it certainly seems like Cristiano has been suitably gifted over the last 10 years, which he appears to be well aware of.
Fresh off his 6th Super Bowl win, Tom Brady has to be flying high. He secured the NFL record for most championships won by a player and became, even in the begrudging estimation of his biggest haters, the greatest quarterback of all time. Although he's probably not making it rain in a club, Brady is spending his Super Bowl bonus in other ways. Stay tuned to see all the things the greatest of all time spends his bucks on, including some very impressive air travel. But before we begin, make sure to like this video regardless of whether or not you're a Tom Brady fan. Greatness transcends tribalism after all. Now here is how Tom Brady spends his millions. While most of you know why Tom Brady has so much money, you might not know the exact details of his income, and that's where we come in. Brady played 4 seasons of college football before breaking into the NFL, so we know he wasn't making a lot of money from 1995 to 1999. It wasn't until 2000, after Brady was selected by the New England Patriots in the 6th round of the entry draft, that he made some coin. But by NFL standards, it wasn't very much. Brady spent most of his first NFL season on the bench, earning just over $200,000. However, his fortune changed upon completion of his 2nd season, which he spent as the team's starting quarterback. In fall 2001, Brady signed a contract extension worth $28 million, which lasted until 2006. This move paid off for the Patriots, who won the 2002 Super Bowl thanks in large part to Brady's play. From then on, he's been considered one of the greatest players in the game, so you can bet he renegotiated his contract for a lot more money. His 2005 extension lasted until 2010 and paid him nearly $60 million. Also during this time, Brady made easy millions by signing endorsement deals with several companies. And in 2009, he married Gisele Bündchen, one of the highest paid models in the world, making their household income an outrageous figure. Multiple contract extensions followed his 2005 renegotiation, which paid Brady between $12 and $20 million a season. All totaled, his NFL career earnings are $212 million. Keep in mind, Brady has taken several pay cuts stats throughout his career to help the Patriots free up money for better teammates. He sacrificed an estimated $60 million in salary to keep his team dominant, which means that his career earnings should have been closer to $300 million. Despite this setback, he's still in pretty good financial shape. Brady's net worth has been calculated at $180 million, but his and Gisele's combined net worth is a staggering $580 million. We told you the number was outrageous. Now that we have the income specifics out of the way, we can get into the fun stuff, how Tom Brady spends his hundreds of millions. And where's a better place to start with a rich male athlete than with his cars? An athlete without a hot car is like a rapper without a hot car, and Brady makes rappers proud by having a veritable variety of vehicles. The first car in his collection was a 1967 Dodge Dart, but it's not what you're thinking. We're not talking about a mint-condition vintage muscle car, but a beaten-up relic that might have been nice 50 years ago, but instead looked every day of its age. It didn't have seatbelts and wouldn't start if it was cold out. Brady bought it from his sister for $200. Yes, the Dodge Dart preceded Brady's fame, but it still counts as his first car purchase. But after getting a taste of real money, Brady got a taste of luxury cars and never looked back. He owns or has owned a $57,000 Lexus GS, a $50,000 Audi S5, and a $400,000 Rolls-Royce Ghost. There's also a $200,000 Aston Martin DB11, a $165,000 Audi R8, and a $230,000 Ferrari M458T, and a $1.7 million Bugatti Veyron Super Sport. He also has won quite a few vehicles over the course of his career, especially for being a 4-time Super Bowl MVP. The prizes haven't been his style, however, so he usually opts for giving them away to his teammates. Patriots cornerback Malcolm Butler was the recipient of Brady's generosity and a brand new Chevrolet Colorado truck that Brady won as MVP of Super Bowl 49. Brady's so renowned for his affinity for luxury cars that Aston Martin released a line of Tom Brady's Signature Edition convertibles in 2017. Only 12 were manufactured for a retail price of just under $360,000. Ironically, Brady didn't even get one. Brady's gift to Malcolm Butler is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his generosity. The quarterback has been a Santa Claus of sorts to his teammates and family, often surprising them with expensive and unique gifts. As Brady's haters probably know better than his fans, he's long been an ambassador for the UGG footwear company. He loves UGG slippers and has been wearing them since he was 13 years old, so when the opportunity came to represent the company, he accepted it with pride. It was this same pride with which Brady in 2015 gifted every single Patriots player with 5 pairs of UGG boots. The pricey boots for 52 teammates would have cost Brady approximately $35,000. Brady spent even more on his teammates in 2007 when he bought all 5 members of his offensive line a $42,500 Audi Q7 SUV. He did this to show appreciation to the players who protected his neck so effectively that the Pats finished that season 16-0. Of course, we couldn't talk about Brady's gifting without mentioning his wife. We can't fathom how much money Tom has unloaded on Gisele and vice versa, but if her engagement ring is any indication, it's a heck of a lot. It was reported in 2008 that Tom spent $145,000 on a diamond ring for his bride-to-be. What a gentleman. Another necessity for a star athlete is good food and an easy way to apprehend it. This is why Brady and his wife have a personal chef. We know from Brady and Gisele's former personal chef, Alan Campbell, exactly what the family ate, and thus what Tom spent money on. Campbell prepared for the family a diet that consisted of 80% vegetables and whole grains and 20% lean meats. The vegetables were all organic but didn't include nightshades because of their inflammatory nature. This meant no mushrooms, peppers, or eggplants, and tomatoes only on special occasions. The whole grains were mostly brown rice, quinoa, millet, and beans. As for lean meats, they consisted almost exclusively of grass-fed organic steak, duck, chicken, and wild salmon. Campbell never used white sugar, white flour, processed olive oil, or iodized salt. Instead of olive oil and iodized salt, he cooked with coconut oil and Himalayan pink salt. Completely off-limits to the family were caffeine and dairy. You may have noticed an absence of fruits. Though Tom tended to stay away from fruits, making an exception for bananas in his smoothies, his kids ate a lot of fruit, usually in the form of homemade fruit roll-ups. Campbell also did all the Brady shopping. He would try to harvest from farmers markets but still relied quite a bit on Whole Foods. While we can't begin to estimate how much Campbell's services cost Tom and Giselle, we know from a cookbook that Tom released in 2017 that the food for him alone costs more than $16,000 a year. Now we're getting into the big guns, the multi-million-dollar purchases. We're talking, of course, about houses. Brady has bought his fair share of mansions, the most notable one being the LA pad that he built in 2008 after spending $11.75 million on the space. In 2014, the 18,298 square foot home was sold by Tom and Giselle to none other than Dr. Dre. He spent $40 million on the Brady house. Another mansion in Tom's collection is the one in which he and his family have spent the most time. Tom invested $4.5 million on a 5-acre property in Brookline, Massachusetts, on which he built a 14,317 square foot custom designed mansion. The 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom pad is only a 30-minute drive away from the Patriots practice stadium. Perhaps the most lavish of Brady's abodes is located in the Tribeca area of New York City. The luxury condo is like nothing ever seen before and was bought by Tom and Giselle for $30 million in 2017. Their 5,000 square foot space has additional 2,000 square feet of outdoor space and is known for its privacy, including a paparazzi-proof automated garage, which is why the condo has been advertised as a celebrity haven. The unique-looking building contains a dining suite, billiards room, cafe, child's playroom, and 8,000 square feet of health and fitness facilities, including an 82-foot pool. Brady's condo is on the 12th floor, and rumor has it that he chose this floor to match his jersey number. Another celebrity spending staple is vacations. Brady and family, unsurprisingly, travel to many exotic locales. In fact, they have been to several in just the last few years. Costa Rica is one of Tom and Giselle's favorite destinations. This is where the couple got engaged, and they returned to their old haunt in February 2018 after Brady's Patriots lost Super Bowl 52 to the Philadelphia Eagles. While we're talking about tropical locations, we can't forget to mention the Bahamas. Tom and co traveled to the Caribbean paradise in November 2017 and liked it so much that they returned in March 2018. After the Bahamas, the family journeyed to Qatar in April 2018, where they rode camels on the beach and visited U.S. troops. They also traveled to Monaco and Italy in recent years, the latter of which was visited during Brady's Deflategate suspension. But probably the favorite of all their vacation destinations is Brazil, since it's the home country of Giselle. The family has spent a lot of time in Brazil, and they have immersed themselves in the country, including the Amazon rainforest. Its protection is one of Giselle's main charitable causes. Although Tom has been supportive of his wife's rainforest activism, there are other causes he's more interested in. One of these is Best Buddies International, which prides itself on being the world's largest organization dedicated to ending the social, physical, and economic isolation of the 200 million people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The organization credits Brady for raising more than $46 million since 2001. However, a lot of this fundraising came not from Brady himself, but Brady's charity, the Change the World Foundation. The foundation, which provides financial assistance in the form of grants, was established by Brady in 2005 with an initial sum of $500,000, $10,000 of which came from his own pocket. Brady's charitable contributions have also gone to hurricane relief. In 2017, he donated $100,000 to fellow NFLer J.J. Watt's relief fund after Hurricane Harvey devastated Southeast Texas. But Brady may be more valuable to charities for his fame rather than his income. In March 2018, Brady shaved his head for cancer research, which helped raise $7.5 million. There are few people in the world that can raise millions of dollars just by getting a haircut. Now that all the philanthropy is out of the way, we have come to the grand finale. By that we mean the biggest purchase of Tom's life. Technically, it was Giselle that flashed the Amex, but we imagine the pair like to share their big purchases, especially when it concerns a private jet. Yes, it was reported in 2008 that the then-girlfriend of Tom Brady bought a Gulfstream G550 private jet for $50 million. She apparently settled on the G550 after considering the Falcon 7X, the Global Express XRS, which is the preferred jet of Oprah Winfrey. She also looked into a jet manufactured by a Brazilian company that has remained anonymous. Giselle's G550 could transport 19 people in record speed to destinations all over the world. Though she bought the jet in 2008, Gulfstream told Gisele that her model would not be available until 2010. Tom does not have his own separate jet, but he can still be seen traveling on other companies' private jets. The Patriots have a private jet that takes Brady to important events, as does Under Armour, one of Brady's sponsors. So although he can't boast like Gisele can, Brady still gets a lot of private jet action. That's all for how Tom Brady spends his millions. What would you do if you had Tom Brady's life? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.